Hey guys, what's up? So we have a new update on Advanced Server featuring Aldous, Odette, and the new item, Great Dragon Spear. First is Aldous, where he will now gain 10 stacks on a siege minion. That's like killing a hero, right? And if you can't last hit the siege minion, you will get 5 stacks. Because of this, mid lane Aldous will no longer be effective since there's no siege minions there at the start of the game. You'll have to behave yourself in the experience lane like a good fighter. But before you start celebrating, there is an adjustment to his damage. They lower the damage per bonus stack from 6 down to 5. So he can acquire more stacks in the experience lane, but his damage is lowered. What can you say Aldous means? Is this a buff or a nerf? Next is the return of Odette's ultimate dash. The developer said her previous adjustment did not meet their expectations, so they're bringing back the dash. So she now has basic CC immunity plus a dash on her ultimate. Maybe it's time to give Odette a chance. Next is the adjustment on Lylia. They removed the feature where she can restore the charges on her second skill after using her ultimate. As you can see, I didn't gain any charge. The reason behind this is that the developers want to make her gameplay simpler. With the new Lylia, you'll only use the ultimate as a defensive measure to restore HP or for repositioning. Anyway, to make up for the lost feature, they lowered the cooldown on her second skill by almost half at late game. If we add cooldown reduction items, she can basically spam the skill with minimal downtime. So what can you say Lylia means? Is the short cooldown enough to make up for her new ultimate? Next is Mathilda's new ultimate. She can now cast the ultimate again to dash on a specific area. Enemies that are in the way will be knocked airborne. This gives Mathilda a good setting skill, just like the other tanks. Another buff is her second skill, which now has a shorter cooldown. It's now fixed at 12 seconds on all levels. Unfortunately, it's labeled as experimental changes, so it's not sure yet. Next is the nerf on Freya. Her enhanced basic attacks will no longer get full attack speed. Instead, it only gets plus 200%. And with her cooldown nerfs last week, expect a weaker Freya after this update. Next is the adjustment on Faramis, where they lowered the bounce on his second skill from 3 to 2. That means if there are multiple enemies, his damage will only bounce 2 times. To balance, they had to increase the magic scaling by 14%. For me, it's a nerf because that slight increase in damage is not enough to compensate for the extra bounce. Next is the adjustment on Alice. Siege minions will now drop 2 blood orbs when killed. This means she gets more blood orbs, but in return, they will lower the effect of her passive. Each orb will now give each HP and 15 mana, and they also increase the required orbs to gain extra movement speed from 50 to 60. So just like Aldous, stacks are easier to get, but the effects are a bit weaker. Next is Zilong. They added base points on his passive damage and heal. This makes him better in the early stages of the game. Next is the experimental adjustment on Irithel. The developers think she's weak without her ultimate, so they will increase its frequency. It will get lower cooldown, but the duration is also shortened. This adjustment will allow her to use her ultimate more often, despite the shorter duration. Next is the slight buff on Xavier. They added 50 points of damage to his first skill. They said it's a way to improve his lane clearing ability. Next is the adjustment on Ruby. They canceled the changes on her second and ultimate skill, where the base damage will no longer increase with level. But they're keeping the changes on her first skill. And they also lowered its cooldown by 1 second. I think that's a big change because it allows you to spam the skill more often. And since it now scales better with attack items, you can expect a higher damage output from Ruby with fighter builds. Next is Ixia. The developer said she's strong in the mid to late game, but sometimes it takes too long to complete her build. To fix this, they will increase the damage on her first skill. And her ultimate will now gain 50% attack speed while the skill is used. And a slight nerf on her attack speed is also applied. Next is the adjustment on Floryn. She can now share the item on her allies without the need to return to the fountain. All she needs to do is go out of combat for 5 seconds. Her exclusive item will be lowered to match its new level scaling feature. They did this because the attributes will now scale with her level. This stats will be doubled when she reaches level 15. Next is the buff on Rafaela. They increase the speed and range of her ultimate. But it's not working yet. I think they should focus on her passive though. Next is the revamped Lolita. Her shield passive will no longer be permanent. Instead, it will only last for 30 seconds. Another update is her second skill Reflect Damage. It's now based on the enemy's attributes, which makes it even deadlier. And they also added a new CC immunity on her second skill Shield. It can only be cancelled by Suppress or Transform effect. But it's not working yet. Slow effect is weakened on her ultimate by 25%, and they added a new quick tap prevention so that you don't accidentally end the skill too early. Next is the new hero, Nolan. The reefs on his passive are now longer, and the pull effect will start a bit earlier. To balance, they had to slightly lower its damage. Ultimate is also adjusted with a new skill indicator, making it a bit easier to cast. And just like his passive, the damage is now weakened. Next is the revamped Magic Wheel. They released the drop rates on Magic Cores, which is 20%. And they also said you can get at least a total of 200 cores for every 200 spins. That means the rate will be the same as before. 200 draws should give you 200 cores. But just to be sure, I'll have to test it properly once it's applied. Next are the Emblem Adjustments. Everyone's favorite emblem is now nerfed. The Hybrid Region basic common emblem is now lowered from 15 down to 12. And they also made adjustments to these talents. Agility will only get 4% movement speed. Master Assassin damage is now 5%. Life Drain now has a better mana regen. Tenacity now has a lower defense stats. Brave Smite will have a lower heal, and Killing Spree gets a higher HP regen. These are important changes because it can affect everyone using those talents and emblems. Last one is the new item, Great Dragon Spear. Actually, not new, because this is the old Scarlet Phantom. Yes, they've deleted Scarlet Phantom and replaced it with Zilong Spear. I think this is just right because it can cause confusion if it's still using the old Scarlet Phantom icon. Remember, it no longer has attack speed stats. And that's it for our weekly advanced server update. So what can you say about the emblem adjustments? Do you like the changes on Aldous? Share your thoughts in the comment section. That's all for this video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.